Hey good people, it's Nero once again from the Overclocker magazine. So, I didn't think I'd be looking at yet another GeForce RTX 5060 GPU so soon. But while I was testing the previous one, another model came along, which is the Gigabyte GeForce RTX 5060 Aorus Elite. Now I'll admit, I was not in the least eager to take a look at yet another 5060, let alone an 8GB GPU. However, I was and am pleasantly surprised by what this card is capable of doing. Not only is it cheaper than the RTX 5060 card that I looked at, it's faster out the box, overclocks better, runs cooler, and looks better. Honestly, where the 5060 cards are concerned, there really isn't anyone that is better than this one. This I guarantee you. Let's start with the price. Woodware has this card for $7,899. I'm not sure what the Amazon price is, but this is already better than the last card. And for what you get, this is a premium model with full RGB LED lighting as well. While the PCB of the card is short, the actual card is large, measuring 329mm by 128mm. The heatsink is, in no uncertain terms, an overkill. In fact, I think this cooler is capable of handling the RTX 5070, perhaps even the 5070 Ti. But here it is on an 8GB 5060 card of all things. Either way, it does look stylish, and you do get a sense that this is the most premium offering of the 5060 GPUs Gigabyte has to offer. The odd thing about this card is that its 8-pin PCIe power connector is located at the very back of the card. I'm not sure why this was a chosen location, but I can see it being an inconvenient location for a lot of systems. However, it is what it is, so you'll have to find a way of dealing with the increased cable mess that may arise as a result of this location. On this Aorus Elite card, Gigabyte is using what it calls the Hawk fans, and as all such technologies from every other vendor, is supposed to increase thermal efficiency while reducing noise, turbulence, etc. True or not, the card does run extraordinarily quiet and the temperatures are spectacular to say the least. With that out the way, let's talk about the software, which is Gigabyte's Control Center. It's an 800MB download, which is unnecessary given what you eventually end up with. It has the typical options of controlling the fan halo lighting, the Aorus logo, fan speeds, and clock speeds. The issue is that using this app for overclocking is only going to lead you to frustration. You have to click every single 1 MHz adjustment that's on both the GPU core and the memory. Why you can't just type in the value or use a slider is truly beyond me. As a result, I used another vendor software which is significantly easier, lighter, and more visually appealing than Gigabyte's Control Center. All that aside, what's truly exciting about this GPU is just how much of an overclock it has out the factory. It retails with a 200MHz overclock, as I stated earlier, has a decent power budget out the factory, and as a result, regularly maintains this 200MHz speed advantage over the previous model I tested in virtually all scenarios. While the memory is limited to 34GB per second, like on all 5060 cards, the core was rather capable, and in many games, I often ended up with a real-time clock frequency of 3300MHz, on the lower end 3250 for brief periods. What this means is that in some situations, the Aorus Elite model outperformed the GeForce RTX 5060 Ti at its default clocks, an impressive feat to say the least. That said, testing was done on the AMD Ryzen 9 9900X, the ROG Crosshair AX1500i ATX, 64GB of Kingston Fury Beast DDR5 memory, all of which was powered by the Corsair AX1500i and cooled by the Corsair Titan RX LCD AIO. First up, we have 3D Mark. As is, the Aorus Elite puts up numbers too close to the 5060 Ti. However, when you add overclocking into it, it beats the 5060 Ti in 2 of the 3 tests, matching it in the Speedway benchmark. Next is Unigen Superposition with the 4K optimized preset. Here we can see once again the overclocked Aorus Elite card managing to pull ahead of the 5060 Ti GPU, an impressive showing for the Aorus Elite model. Before we get to the gaming benchmarks, I must stress again how exceptional the OC headroom is on this model. As is, it has the #1 spot on the 3D Mark result browser for TimeSpy Extreme at a healthy 8,083 points. I spoke about power and temperatures earlier, and as you can see from the results, the maximum power draw for the card is around 170 watts when overclocked, but when gaming, I think it's about 157 watts with the OC and just 144 watts at default. Temperatures are spectacular, often in the late 40s to early 50s while gaming. Increasing the fan speeds manually can alter these and drop the temperatures further so that they are never in the 50s at all. Right then, we get to the gaming benchmarks, and the first one is World of Assassination. 62 FPS on average at these settings is more than playable, but as is with titles where the 5060 is concerned, I strongly recommend the use of DLSS, just for that performance headroom. Overclocking here is powerful as well, adding 14% more performance to the card. In Forza Horizon 5, the performance is great as is, but we do see a 10% boost in performance from overclocking, which is always appreciated. In Cyberpunk 2077, using the medium RT preset, the card delivers just over 60 FPS out the box, with a 9% increase in performance from overclocking. That said, I'd recommend turning off some RT features when using this card, because RT features often overwhelm the memory available. So DLSS and sensible RT features are a must here. In F1 2024, which plays brilliantly at over 70 FPS out the box, it actually increases about 11% when overclocked. This game runs well at this resolution regardless of what settings you use. We then move on to Dragon Age, the Veilguard. 71 frames per second at default, rising to 79 with the overclock. I'd not really bother here with the OC unless I wanted to use the Fade Touch settings in combination with more RT features and DLSS of course. Alan Wake 2 requires some sort of upscaling, and naturally it would be DLSS for the Nvidia cards. Overclocking here doesn't add much to the performance as it is with other titles. Another game where memory becomes the bottleneck very quickly, so additional overclocking has very limited impact here. This is similar to the situation you have with Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The GPU is simply running out of memory, and as a result, overclocking can't really do much here. Another one where DLSS is not an option but a must, especially if you want to play with any form of RT enabled. And then finally, we get to Expedition 33. The game looks fantastic of course, but can be overwhelming in some situations. Out the box, the 5060 doesn't fare that well, delivering only 49 frames per second. But with an overclock, it shoots up to 56 frames per second, a healthy 14% boost in performance. As before, use DLSS here when gaming, because the experience is vastly enhanced with frame rate climbing well over 80 frames per second. Alright then, that's it from me and the Gigabyte GeForce RTX 5060 Aorus Elite. Once again, I have to state, this is by far the best 5060 I've tested to date. I even compared it with the clock frequencies of other models, and this one has the highest clock frequency, and you can see for yourself, the performance is right up there, perhaps even nipping at the heels of the 5060 Ti. Anyway, for this price, I can't say you should buy a card or not buy the card. If you're willing to live with an 8GB card, it doesn't get better than this one. Until the next time, please do take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace.